This is a painting of Lady Croke made by Robert Field, who hails from Gloucestershire, England, who was born there in 1769 and passed away in Kingston, Jamaica in 1819. This painting was made in 1808 and is an oil on canvas. Born and trained in Great Britain, Field spent 14 years painting miniatures on ivory in various cities on the east coast of the United States. In 1808, he settled in Halifax, where he began executing his first oil paintings on canvas. They proved immediately popular. Field's portraits are imbued with a sense of decorum and gravitas, characteristic of British neoclassicism. There is nothing to indicate where the models live, and time seems eternal. Sir Alexander Croke, wearing his judge's robe and wig, is depicted as a very solemn figure, while Lady Croke is the picture of proud aristocracy. This was purchased by the National Gallery of Canada in 1952, and the inventory number is 6083. This is the counterpart that we were talking about just moments ago of Sir Alexander Croke by Robert Field, again from Gloucestershire, England, born there in 1769, passed away in Kingston, Jamaica, 1819. Like the previous painting, this was made in 1808 and is an oil on canvas and was also purchased in 1952. The inventory number is 6082. Robert Feld was born in 1769 and passed away in 1890. He is a British artist who lived also in Kingston, Jamaica. According to Daphne Forksett, author of the Dictionary of British Miniature Paintings, Feld was one of the best American miniaturists of his time. Fields passed some time in Nova Scotia, Canada at the beginning of the 19th century, where he began his and maintained most of his professional training in what is now present-day Canada. Field was commissioned by the wife of George Washington, Martha Washington, to do 2 miniatures of her husband, which are both at the Yale University Art Gallery in their permanent collection. Robert Field received his training at the Royal Academy Schools in London in 1790. In 1794, he moved to Philadelphia, which was at the time the nation's capital. He joined a group of artists led by Charles Wilson Pearl, which established the Columbian or American Academy of Fine Arts, which eventually became Pennsylvania's Academy of Fine Arts in 1805. He spent 14 years living and working in the United States as a miniature painter in Baltimore, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., and Boston, Massachusetts. He also painted for Thomas Jefferson, amongst many other politicians. So this is a fairly typical painting, or paintings, I should say, of the 19th century. So you see an artist that is born in Great Britain but has spent some time in Jamaica, the US, and Canada. Since at that time, these countries were, at least for Jamaica and Canada, still British colonies. The US was still in turmoil as it was still trying to find its independence and becoming its own country. So if you were a British citizen, especially if you had a certain amount of wealth, you could fairly easily go to any of these countries, amongst others, to live and work. And obviously, if you were a talented artist, you probably could get commissioned by royalty or local politicians to do their portraits, or the portraits of individuals that were wealthy enough to command it. Obviously, when we say command, it sounds really horrible and like it's something really bad, but usually in art, when you command a painting, it's another way of saying you're commissioning somebody to do your portrait or a portrait of another individual. So it's just a fancy way of saying you're paying somebody to do a particular painting job. Now, obviously, at the time, the paintings tended to be relatively realistic. You wanted to portray the person as is. You might give them a little bit of a better portrayer. So if it was sexy to be a little bit overweight, you made them a little bit overweight. If it was portrayed to be of a certain skin color because that was what's in fashion, that was what was desirable, then that's what you did. But overall, you really try to portray the person as realistically as possible. Obviously, like I just said, you're trying to portray that person in the best possible light. So here you have really the artist trying to be portraying both the husband and the wife in the best possible light. And this painting was most likely paid by the husband, who was wealthy enough to be a British expat living in Jamaica, right? Now we have to understand again, like I said, Jamaica is a British colony at the time. So if you're British and you're living in Jamaica, it's because you're probably wealthy. You're not there just because, you kind of feel like you want to spend the week there. You're there because you have the money. These individuals probably had a certain amount of slaves, etc. So you're there really living the good life. If you're white, British, and wealthy, you're there with money, with power, with status. And painting a portrait, especially by an artist of renowned stature, is the thing to do, whether we like it today or not. And I know I will make a video on antiquities in the museums, and I will touch upon that idea, as well as how some of these paintings nowadays, when we look at these paintings, we look at it, oh my god, what the talent that goes into it, the time, the effort, the training, but also the historical significance that comes with these paintings, right? We're not painting the average person the same way that we would paint royalty or people of a certain class. We're not painting ethnic minorities in the same light, etc. So it's very different to get a painting done as a slave versus as a slave owner. But like I said, I will be addressing this in other videos. But please let me know if this is the kind of topic you want me to go further into and really suss out all those little details. There is a difference, but not to downplay this artist and his paintings that he was made. It doesn't take away the quality of the painting, even though we understand that historically the subject matter can be very offensive or inappropriate, or something that today we look at very differently than we would have back in the day. Things change Obviously, thankfully, in some cases, obviously, I don't agree with slavery. I don't think this is something that we should continue to promote, but we have to accept that it is something that has occurred and that is represented either directly or indirectly in paintings that we see in modern day museums. So I hope that you guys like what I presented today. And if you do have opinions, please do share them respectfully in the comment section. And I hope to hear more of your thoughts. And if you do want me to go in more in depth in this topic or in other topics, please feel free to do so.